So I'm just jotting down a joke that I did not say during that segment and I think is inappropriate, but I'll tell you later.
So we can add it in and post?
Well, it's up to you. It's inappropriate.
Welcome back to another episode of 1980s Now, a weekly examination of the importance of 1980s pop culture and its influence today. Hey, my name is Will, and joining me, as always, are my friends and co-hosts, Kat and John. Hey, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How y'all doing?
Doing okay.
It never fails that as soon as we get together, I feel a little bit better than I did before we get together. So
Same.
well.
Hey, on today's episode, I'm going to share with you the real true story of what might very well be certainly the simplest, I think, but also the most audacious heist, certainly in the 1980s, I imagine, but maybe in all of, I don't know, at least the 21st century.
Whoa.
I don't know enough statistics or facts with regard to heists just generally, but I think this one, it's got to be up there. And when you put in how easily it was accomplished, I think that makes it even more valuable. But more fascinating is what happens after. And we'll be sharing with you in a little bit. Before that, though, we're going to review current news stories related to 1980s media, including Knight Rider's got a digital pinball game, and I'm super thrilled about that. I just need to hear the Knight Rider theme, and whatever the product is, I want it. The Thundercats live-action movie is moving forward. I really thought they were going to probably bail on that before we ever saw anything, but no, it's going forward. And we have this list that nobody asked for from The Hollywood Reporter of the Ghostbusters films ranked. And I normally wouldn't bring up listicles, but this one just hit me a certain way. I'd be curious about your opinions on
Me
that.
too. Yeah.
Now, Craig says, are you going to do the true crime voice this time? What did I do last time?
Well, I think he's hoping that you're going to do it just like I am.
But he said this time. I don't know what that implies.
I don't think it implies anything.
Well, I think it's that every time you do it, you go, I'm not doing this again. So we're hoping that you continue to buck the trend of you canceling yourself, that you'll actually continue to do it. So you're like, I can't do this anymore. That's right. And
you're right. Now you remind me, I don't want to do it. But I probably will. All right. Hey, anyway, before we get started here, a quick announcement. Hey, I wanted to let you guys know, you should look. She's been on our show, Liz Worth. She is an amazing journalist, writer, and host of our own podcast, Forever 80s Podcast. And she was on our show not too long ago, just a few weeks ago. And I was on her show, but I didn't know it was set to air last week. So it's already live. So go and check it out. You might have to look an episode prior, but you should check out other episodes of Liz's as well. She is the way she talks about 1980s pop culture, but differently than we do. Yeah. Trying to answer the question why 80s pop culture is so enduring. We're not wondering why. We're just talking about how, I guess, it is. And unlike our show, she talks to a new guest every episode as well to try to get to the bottom of it. Talking to folks that have some connection to the 80s pop culture or another. And we help her get closer to that answer. Anyway, Forever 80s Podcast, there's a link in the comments below. Definitely check it out. I like Liz. She's awesome.
I already listened.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was a good listen. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, I got to tell you, look, I only would tell you guys this, and I said this to my wife too. I kind of felt like talking to her like the first time I talked to John. Now, I didn't fall in love with her like I fell in love with John.
Oh,
I was on his show. But I felt like I had this feling like, and she and I have spoken twice now, hey, I think we could be friends. We were just kind of vibing and talking nerdy stuff in a way that was very easy, I thought. I don't know. But then immediately after I was on her show, I was like, I hope I didn't blow it. This is how I felt with John. I hope I didn't blow it. Maybe I came on too strong,
I feel like, Will, you're probably at friend capacity. So if you're going to get any new great friends, you're going to have to run it by your current circle of friends to see if we will allow it. We need veto power, that sort of thing. I mean, she's a lovely person, but I don't know if I want to share you with yet another person that's going to absorb your time. So that's how I feel. I think you're flattering me too, John, when you say I have a circle of friends. I don't know that I have enough to make a circle. Maybe a short line, a segment, a line segment.
A C? Are you?
Do you have a triangle of friends, perhaps?
Yeah, that's right. I have 3 friends.
There you go.
2 of us are here? What?
Yeah. All right, hey, let's get caught up on 1980s news. as reported by comingsoon.net, as we just mentioned, Pinball FX adds Knight Rider DLC. Now, John, you're the video game expert on the show. I'm not familiar already with Pinball FX. Is that a brand or a product that you know about?
It is, right. So the company, I believe, is named Zen, and they have made many pinball games over the years. And they had Pinball FX, Pinball FX2, Pinball FX3, and now they have this new platform that is cleverly titled Pinball FX Again. Just like when someone reboots a movie and they call it Roadhouse, just the same as the old Roadhouse with no distinction. But it is a platform that they often very cheap or give away, and then they make money by the downloadable content, buying the tables or sets of tables. But it's very well revered, even amongst pinball aficionados. But it's more than just replicating old tables, as you're about to talk about. It's making new things you couldn't do in the real world on a pinball table.
Yeah, I was a little confused. I watched this video and I'm like, what is going on here? And how can I play this?
Yeah.
How can I experience this?
Yep. And they could do pretty fantastic things on actual pinball tables today. Like, I think for the first time when I was SFGE last July, that some of the pinball games I played there with the different actual physical models moving things around.
Crazy.
Pretty fantastic, yeah. But obviously on video, as you pointed out, there's obviously even more you can do. Well, as we're teasing here, Zen Studios announced that Pinball FX is getting a handful of new tables based on popular classic NBC Universal television series. The new tables will be introduced into the game May 16th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series XS, Nintendo Switch, and PC from some of the biggest shows that NBC Universal's ever had to air. And those series this time around include Xena, Warrior Princess. Okay, that's fine. Battlestar Galactica. Now, it's not my Battlestar Galactica.
No, not yours. Right.
It's the newer one, and that's fine. Most importantly.
The newer one is also awesome in its own right. Have you never watched it, or it's just not for you?
I think I tried the first episode, and
Really?
Yeah. I didn't see Dirk Benedict, and I was like, I'm out. No
He
Lauren
was
Green.
not there. That's true. Yeah.
But most importantly, as we mentioned, is they're going to be featuring a Knight Rider table.
Yes.
Huge fans of Knight Rider as it is. And this is how and I've got a clip of the trailer here for the Knight Rider piece, but I'll tell you how they describe it. They write, sit behind the wheel and use KITT's superior technology to face off against the greatest threats on the road, like KARR, K-A-R-R, the evil KITT, for those who watch the show. Punch the turbo boost, activate super pursuit mode, and engage auto cruise to let the table play automatically. Wait a second, what? That's got to be a brief thing. You can't imagine you just set it and forget it.
Right.
As Ron Popeil would have us do. And here, for folks having a hard time envisioning this, and if you're on our video right now, you can actually see what they're promising to deliver here. Oh, I hear that theme. That's it. I'm in. It looks like an actual pinball table there.
This is it, Michael.
Yep. Oh, I want that.
I want this too. How can I play this? Oh man.
Yeah, I love it. And you look at that trailer and they're all gimmicks that they kind of constrain themselves to what you could do in a pinball machine.
Yeah.
But the first time one of those cars went off the rails, that machine is busted and it's out of order, right? It's all things, cars flying through and spark effects and stuff. But
yeah, and unfortunately, my dad was looking to get a pinball machine. So I went shopping with him at, some place that rehab and sell vintage ones and new ones too.
Yeah.
And they were talking about how, and I'm sure this is what John's alluding to, it's some of the most expensive and, type of, machinery, I suppose, as far as repairing, especially when you're talking about older ones where they don't sell the parts and they have to, make them or 3D print them or something like that. And the older they are, the more maintenance they need. And
it's like owning a boat. Like at no point are you ever done with a boat. And if you own a pinball machine, there's always I really need to replace that. Oh, that's not working quite right. These bulbs are out, because it's all electromechanical. Yeah. And it's a full-time job. People that collect genuine, authentic old pinball machines, but they're glorious to play when they are working. That's why you go to those conventions. Let somebody else do the work. I'll just push start and play it. and break it probably.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that even in terms of arcades. It'd be great to have a lot of machines and stuff at your house, but then you got to deal with that. I'd rather just go to a place and
maintenance. Yep.
The other thing I was thinking too is I don't know that I'd ever want one cabinet, because one of the great things for me of going to an arcade was that cacophony of so many games playing at the same time, where here and there your brain would sort of sync up with one particular sound of a game and you'd recognize it. But that was just, I don't know, it was like being at a nightclub or a disco or something with music playing, that energy.
Well, I have one of those cabinets that has all the games on them.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I had a party or something years ago, back before the pandemic and the end of the times, I would, I have a sample loop of arcade sounds. Just that, it's like an hour-long loop of just the noise, and just let it play in the background all the time, and it adds to it so much.
That's smart.
I would go to that party.
Kat, have you been invited, though?
I would invite myself.
I've never been invited either to any parties at John's house. No. Interesting.
Just a random knock on the door. That
right.
must be Kat and Will.
Per Mel Kirk, the COO of Zen Studios, he says, quote, many of us grew up watching these legendary series through the past decades. Our team, avid fans of these NBC Universal TV classics, gleefully jumped into creating these new experiences. Yeah, I bet. Now, John, you probably know this already, but these tables already join other types of legendary brands that we'd be fans of already, including Back to the Future, E.T., and Jaws.
Whole bunch of Marvel stuff, whole bunch of Star Wars stuff, even some Star Trek tables came out not long ago. So
okay, hey, another 1980s news as reported on comicbook.com. The Godzilla Kong director has revealed a positive update on the Thundercats movie.
Oh.
What'd you call me?
Oh.
She's doing a hip hop thing. I don't know what that's all about.
I'm continuing.
Nobody said say it, Kat. You need somebody to say ho. Right? Isn't that how it works? I don't know.
Yeah, somebody. Anybody.
Yeah. Everybody scream ho. Look, I invoked the Godzilla Kong movie because the same director of that is the guy who's going to bring us the Thundercats movie. But, good news is that this Godzilla Kong is doing really well. It opened to $80 million in North America over Easter weekend. Despite getting shade from the critics, it wasn't quite double what the services had predicted, but it was close. And by day 10, its global cum had hit an impressive $361 million, keeping it at the top of the charts. So it seems likely there's going to be a third in these Godzilla Kong crossover films. Good. This is the second one they're together. Oh, did you see it, John?
Yeah. It was ridiculous, and I enjoyed it.
That's a way to describe it, yeah.
Unlike, so there's now two entities making Godzilla movies. There's Toho, the Japanese company, and then there's Legendary Films who are doing the ones we see here in the U.S. Right. Although we just saw Godzilla -1 that was made by Toho last year. Their agreement is they won't make one in the same year or something, I think. So this one just went over the 2003, 2004 line. Whereas Godzilla -1 was a Godzilla movie that was all about the people and you cared about the people.
Yeah.
Godzilla Kong was all about the monsters.
Yeah.
And the people were just the ants running around that were totally, it's like, oh, did we just kill 30, 40 people? That's not important.
Oh my God.
It was not, they weren't worried about the people at all. And it was like a big video game, but it was also, you couldn't have made this movie 5 years ago. It wouldn't have been realistic and believable. And I thought it was great fun. It was a turn off your mind, popcorn, kind of summer movie in the spring.
Not summer.
I agree with that review.
Cool.
That's all it was. Just silly entertainment.
Did you see it as well?
Yeah, I saw it twice actually.
Wow.
I'm not going to add this to my watch list though.
Yeah.
I'm fine
not
seeing them.
No, it's fine.
If they happen to come across my vision, I will watch them, but I have too much else.
I like how Kat gives us updates on what she's going to watch.
You don't want my updates?
Look, I love you, Kat. You know I love and adore you. I have no idea what John's watching on a day-to-day basis. I didn't even know if he saw King Kong. I had to ask him now.
Should I tell you more? I can, every time I watch something, I'm going to let you guys know.
I feel like I know a lot already. This is what I'm saying.
I thought she was going to tell us that based on her opinion of us, she moves things on or off the watch list if she's happy or upset with us. Did Will suggest this? Not that movie. Not talking to Will today.
Right. I could do that because he just said, I love you, but. So I don't know. Anything.
Oh, it's true.
Oh, yeah, true. Did I say but? I don't know if I said but. I don't think I
maybe you didn't. Okay.
I
might
have.
Maybe you said but.
And but.
I got to save my voice. Anyway, look, the movie's a success, and so we're going to get a third one, no doubt. They hasn't been announced, but I know that the director Adam Wingard wants to do one, and it seems with this sort of juggernaut that it's become, he's likely to get one. But the good news for us is that it seems like we may very well see a Thundercats movie even before that, because we've been waiting since it was first announced in 2021 that he was going to make a film. And the good news is, like so many other projects we've been promised, and that seemed promising, this one has yet to be abandoned. In a new interview for the Godzilla Kong movie, Wingard confirmed that Thundercats is still in the works, saying, quote, Simon Barrett and I are still actively working on the script. We finished our last draft basically right when I was going into production on the latest Godzilla Kong film, and we just had to put everything on hold. But right now we're actively working on it again. So whether that means it's the next thing to do, I do or not, I'm not sure, but it's a top priority. Now, what I thought was really interesting is, like many of us who've had fantasies of maybe what we would do one day, when we grow up, that kind of thing. It turns out that Wingard's been working on this for a lot longer than just 2021. He explains that his obsession with Thundercats came in high school at a time when he was learning that he wanted to be a filmmaker. And as a result, he didn't pay attention in school and it got terrible grades. He says that the reason is, paying off now. The reason is, quote, I was writing my Thundercats screenplay through my entire 10th grade, and I was handwriting it. The screenplay itself ended up being 272 pages long. I still have it, end quote. I wonder if any of that's going to be in the actual movie. We'll see. That would be pretty cool.
If it's written by a 10th grader, it's got to be good.
Yeah, John. A 10th grader could have written that Godzilla movie we just watched.
You're not wrong about that either.
I mean, it did feel like at times it could have just been kids playing with dolls, and that's probably how they came up with some of these sequences, right?
When I think about this Thundercats film, though, I can't get the stink of the 2019 Cats movie out of my brain. That was the last time we saw live action felines, and it was so unnerving and uncanny valley. It was like Judi Dench and Taylor Swift and like Idris Elba was a cat. I didn't watch all of it. It was crazy. And didn't they go through and like digitally de-butthole the cats after they had it was ridiculous. And it looked, even what they ended up with was silly. And like, what are you going to do different with Thundercats that isn't going to look like those cats?
Yeah. I almost wonder, I agree with you, because I think the first challenge probably is casting, but I agree with, well, I shouldn't say the first challenge. One challenge is casting, but the even larger one is how do you portray them on screen? Yeah, I almost think it might be safer to just go, look, it's a cartoon that ran in the mid to late 80s. Maybe you should take it back to the 80s and get Rick Baker to make prosthetics. They look like cat people.
Yeah. Just make them dogs instead. Just go crazy. It's a reboot. Do what you want.
Yeah. Thundercats, but
Thunder dogs.
Oh, just change the name. Lightning Dogs. Let's just rip it off. Just to be clear, it wasn't actually technically buttholes. That's what they said, but apparently it was just some kind of, it was part of like the armature that they were using to animate the cats, like it was in the area of the butthole. And they had it been covered by the skin or whatever that they stretched over the arm. You know what I'm talking about? All right, whatever. This is too much talk about buttholes.
Can you have too much talk?
Well, John.
Well, I'm asking.
If you don't know what Thundercats is, I don't know why you're listening to our show then.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, I know. I'm for it. I see lots of people online casting like their dream cast, like Henry Cavill as Lion-O and that sort of thing.
Lion-O.
All right. Yeah. All right.
Like who else? Yeah. What about Snark? I guess Jack Black could be Snark. Snarf. Yeah, Snarf rather.
Snarf.
Yeah. He's kind of snarky, so he's Snarf.
Yeah. And he's probably going to be digital, right? I mean, probably. Make him a puppet. That would be fine too.
Oh.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. Make him a puppet.
They need to go Jim Henson's workshop on this, I'm thinking now.
Yeah, man.
And Stan Winston Studios. Nick says, John, I think you were a little rough on Ghostbusters. Mashed a lot of stuff into the story, but I wouldn't call it a dumpster fire. Hang on to that thought, Nick. We'll talk about that in a moment.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
Who had, Marcus says, who had digitally de-butthole on their bingo card? I don't know. Someone's going to be shouting bingo, I bet.
Oh.
Who's making these cards?
Bungo.
We got us in the FBI over there. That guy's out.
They are.
Hey, and finally, thanks to the Hollywood Reporter, here's every Ghostbusters movie ranked. Back in the 1980s, nobody knew how the Ghostbusters, the original film, was gonna do. They just had their fingers crossed. If you look at the movies that made us, that mini documentary about the making of the film, it was a wonder they got that thing done. But it turned out so fantastic, but no one could have predicted how much of a blockbuster it would have been in 1984 when it came out. Mm-hmm. And even though it had a second film, which, I guess this is a teaser for my feelings about it, was a lackluster, certainly compared to the original, and was critically panned. So don't take my word for it. The franchise itself has still survived decades later, and we're talking about over the course of animated shows, video games, and other merchandise that's featured these scientists that we love. Well, this article now in the Hollywood Reporter is written by some gentleman named Richard Newby, who says that he breaks down the fandom that's kept it alive all these years down to two groups. One, those who love the franchise with each, continuing iteration of it and want new generations to become fans. And two, those who only stand by the 80s film, and as he puts it, will take a proton pack to anything that doesn't remind them of their childhoods. You guys place yourself in either of those categories?
I'm on I'm appreciating all the new stuff. I'm okay with all of it. Although I confess there's one new one that I did not see yet, which is the 2016 release with the women. Yeah. So I can't speak on that one, but I'm okay with all of them. I'm not going to say, 80s or nothing.
I think those two buckets are pretty divisive. Like there's room for middle ground. And I don't know anybody who is like only the first movie or only the 80s movies. Right. I think most people that I know, and I would include myself in that, that's where they fell in love with it. So that's kind of has a special place, but they recognize just good and bad movies in general. So Ghostbusters has had some of both of those. Yeah. So I wouldn't put myself in either of those camps. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm much more accepting of checking it out, not to the exclusion of everything else.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I'm somewhat like that too. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily fall distinctly in either of them, but certainly maybe a blend of them. Anyway, so, and you, John, you had mentioned, obviously folks who grew up in the 80s with these may have a particular affinity for the original films because they grew up with them, et cetera. Well, Newby points out that he didn't grow up with Ghostbusters, so he has no nostalgia for them. And it's within that context that he presents this list.
Which is interesting. That is an interesting perspective, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, at least he exposes his bias. I mean, that's good. I mean, everyone has some sort of an angle or bias. At least he's bearing it before he says, here's my list, but still.
Yeah, and I suppose to that extent, because I want to ask you guys how your top five would shake out, or your five. There's only five, so whatever. That you still call it top five. How the five shake out for you? I wonder if
one of them's not in my top five.
You're five or less.
No, that's not true.
I wonder to what extent we need to consider whether or not we have a bias, that's affecting us, and try to put us more in the shoes of this guy. And like John points out, just judge good filmmaking. Anyway, here they go. So here's his list here. Number 5. So least favorite is Ghostbusters 2016, which was after it came out, they subtitled it Answer the Call because of the hatred and vitriol towards that film, with a lot of people saying that's not my Ghostbusters. Right. And then part of it was because it was women. Part of it was because it's not canon. And part of it was because the fact that it was just called Ghostbusters at first seemed like it was intended to replace the original story and now start a new franchise, which may have been true at the time. Based on the response, obviously, they abandoned that quickly. They added a subtitle to the name. It's called Answer the Call, Ghostbusters Answer the Call.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then they moved on to, this idea of creating rebooting the original franchise.
Or continuing. They didn't reboot it, right? I mean, it kind of did, but
as they say.
Yeah, that's true. There you go. Yep. That's fair.
His number 4 is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, the most recent film. It is big. I guess it can boil down his criticism of it is not that unlike what John said about it, which was that it was almost, I think this is one of John's criticisms, was that it was just too much. Like there were and in particular, he points out there was just too many characters. So you couldn't develop some of the characters you wanted to see more.
And where was the ghost busting?
And where was the ghost busting?
Oh,
we busted one ghost and then we fought the bad guy. End. Like, where are the cool scenes? Where's the we're here to kick some ass? Where's the, The fun, the characters to get. Okay, please continue.
And he says every 25 minutes there's a "who's this guy" moment.
Oh, he must be from the last movie. Yeah.
Ghostbusters number 3 is Ghostbusters Afterlife, which is the one that came out right before this. He points out that this one seems it's a different flavor than the original's 80s films, that it's more Spielbergian, Amblin style of filmmaking, putting it in the middle of America and having this sort of focusing on this family and that. Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
It's not wrong.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't know if that would put it at 3 for me, although maybe it does. I have to look at my list. And number 2 is now here's we go. Right, we're getting down to it now because there's only 2 films left, and it's the 2 original films. The second film he puts in his list is the original Ghostbusters from 1984.
That's ridiculous.
I was like, what? What sense does that make?
Yeah.
He tries to explain it too, and I don't buy it.
Yeah. One of the things he explains is that it seems too serious. It lacks jokes. It's not as lighthearted as other installments.
Lacks jokes?
Well, I suppose to maybe clarify that, Kat, obviously to be obvious, his first choice for number 1 is Ghostbusters 2 from 1989, saying it's the best. And part of it is, he says, he points out, it doesn't feel as grounded as the first film.
Okay.
And that, and that the other thing is that the comedy is stronger. It's less understated, but funnier. I disagree.
Yeah.
The last 3 we could 5, 4, and 3 we could argue about those placement. And my numbers don't line up with his at all. I don't think we have a single one in agreement. Maybe one. Maybe one. But exactly what he criticizes 2 and 1, the first 2 for, is exactly why I like them. I like that 1 is more grounded. I like that the comedy is more.
It feels
subtle.
real.
Yeah. You want to be a little scared, a little concerned, and have the humor come from that sort of the tension of dealing with these supernatural things.
Incredible. I was about to say 5 o'clock, or 8 o'clock, whatever it was. The little things like that people don't even know you're quoting Ghostbusters unless you're really a fan of Ghostbusters.
Right.
It's the subtlety of the humor and it's not jokey. It's comedy out of the situations and the people. I think we're saying the same things.
And I would not say that Ghostbusters 2's comedy is understated. It's fairly broad. I mean, it's slapsticky at times. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think this guy's got it all wrong. And we can't say it's because of nostalgia or lack thereof. As he points out, I just think he's just a terrible reviewer of movies. No taste
Well, it's subjective. We have our own opinions, and they're all wrong too for somebody, but they're right for us.
Well, I'll tell you if yours is right.
He tries to explain it at least. He doesn't just go, that's garbage. He explains his reasoning, even if we disagree.
Sure. So, I suppose. Yeah. All right, what do you guys got? What is your top 5? Kat, do you have a top 5 there of Ghostbusters?
Well, knowing that I still haven't seen one of them and I don't know where to place it, and I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll leave it off. I haven't opened mine.
Your top 4.
Yeah.
Yes. That's all I've got. Okay. Well, my number 1 is the original. Like that, it can't be anywhere else except in that spot. And my second favorite, I guess I'm going from 1 to 4. I'm not leaving you in suspense. My second favorite is Afterlife.
Okay.
I really loved that movie. I really loved it. And part of it might have been I was experiencing it. Like I went out and saw it right when it came out. And I didn't see Ghostbusters 2 until recently. I did not experience that at the time it came out.
Okay.
And so I didn't have attachment to it as well. Like I do think that plays a little part for me. So Afterlife is my second. And it's really hard for me to choose, actually, because I liked Frozen Empire. I really enjoyed it. I don't know which one to place at 3 or 4 between those 2. I think because it's fresher in my mind right now, and I did really enjoy it, I'm going to put Frozen Empire at number 3 and then Ghostbusters 2 at number 4.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'll go 5 to 1, just like our article did. I put the 2016 reboot as number 5, not because it's women, not because it's a reboot, but in general, we've talked about before. I just lamented the opportunity they had available to them and did not take to do a continuation. They had done the same movie as a continuation, I think, in canon. It just feels like a total misfire. The film in its own bubble is okay, but in the pantheon, no.
Yeah.
And then number 4, I would do Frozen Empire.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Again, not that I dislike it, but the other 3 I like better.
You did call it a dumpster fire.
I did. I mean, for a Ghostbusters movie, it was an enjoyable film, but it's so cluttered. Things that I wanted to see, bust some damn ghosts in your Ghostbusters movie, please. Number 3, Ghostbusters 2. I'm sure it's there because of nostalgia, because it has the original cast in the original era. But even at the time, I found it very distasteful to see these people I've seen as heroes washed up and entertaining kids at parties and being disrespected. And it just, even though that they righted that ship, it bad taste in my mouth.
Okay.
And our runner-up, should Ghostbusters not be able to fulfill its duties, that's my number 1. Afterlife is my number 2, which you could argue in a lot of ways is a remake of Ghostbusters, beat for beat with the same bad guy and similar. Anyway, but Will, how about you?
Yeah, and I'm going to...
Now that I've given you the correct list, what's yours?
Yes, right, I'll tell you why you're wrong. I'm going to do this honestly based on, when I had seen 2016, right, my reaction after seeing it, because it wasn't this vitriol, I didn't hate it. But John's talking about Ghostbusters 2. There's a lot of reasons I don't like that movie because of how much I love the first one. I felt like it was almost a parody at times of the first movie and a lot of similar beats from the first movie. So for me already, that had a distaste for me. Now, being able to watch the 2016 one and consider it just as its own thing, I think I enjoyed that movie more than I enjoyed Ghostbusters 2. Just by themselves in isolation, And so for that reason, I put Ghostbusters 2 as number 5 on my list. 2016 is number 4. And then the top 3, I think, are close. I agree with Kat, essentially. Frozen Empire out of those is my number 3. Afterlife, number 2. And number 1 is Ghostbusters. Yeah, unlike the fact, like John points out, Afterlife was kind of a retelling of the first Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2 felt like that too, somewhat. I don't know. I got a lot of different issues with Ghostbusters 2. It's a whole other episode, but anyway,
there's something really cool about Afterlife, though. Even though it does have some of the same elements, it has a different feel from the first movie. A whole different feel.
It does,
and there are different characters. I just thought both were great.
Yep, that's fine. Hey, Nick says, I remember walking out of Ghostbusters 2 feeling hyped, but I haven't felt that way since. Maybe it's just because I was a kid. Yeah.
Oh, he means at the end. I thought he walked out in the middle of it feeling hyped.
Oh.
I walked out of that movie.
I've seen enough and I'm charged up enough. I don't need the rest. I'm ready to fight ghosts. Brandon says, I refuse to watch the 2016 remake. I'm not at all being sexist because I like the talent involved, but something about it just doesn't set right. Yeah, I get that. It feels like it's like a dream. It's like I use this expression fever dream a lot because sometimes when I experience things, it does feel like that. Like it's something I know, but different.
I did see in the article, though, that there's an extended version available, apparently.
That's interesting to me. I'd like to see that.
That really changed it. 17 extra minutes. And the person who wrote the article said it felt like a completely different movie.
I can't imagine any 17 minutes would fix all those problems, but I'd like to see it.
Someone wakes up from a dream in the last 17 minutes.
Maybe it's there. There's a 15-minute part at the end where it's all canon and it was a dream of someone.
Dan Aykroyd waking up from a dream right after he got oral sex from a ghost.
Oh.
Again.
Fans know what I'm talking about. All right. Hey, did we talk about our notes already? I don't know. Craig says there's a version with the 2 guys from F Troop and the gorilla count. I want it to. Now I was thinking the next to move away from that. Maybe we talked about this last time. I was thinking to move away from this Ghostbusters thing. Because John was talking about how it's kind of the same thing. Over and again. Let's do Dan Aykroyd's one with the time travel and they're in outer space. The time travel one. And it's like multiple timelines, all this kind of stuff. And then we could have, let's have those guys. Let's have the ladies in there too. Let's throw them all in there. Let's get the real, the real Ghostbusters animated versions of them in there too. That'd be fun, I think.
A la Roger Rabbit.
All right. Hey, that was 1980s news. Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
The 1980s were absolutely the best time to grow up. When you listen to the Living in the 80s podcast, we hop in the DeLorean and talk about the greatest decade and revisit some of our fondest memories. We talk about where we hung out, what we wore, the music we listened to, the movies and TV shows we watched, and lots more. Be sure to check out the Living in the 80s podcast and our Facebook page and experience the 80s the best that we remember. Living in the 80s, available on your favorite podcast platform.
All right, hey, as I always want to say as promised, but I don't know that anybody wants to.
As threatened.
We're going to be sharing with you this true story from the 1980s. A special thanks to our good buddy George Krupski for researching and in writing this tale.
Oh, yay.
All right, I think that's it. I guess there's nothing I want to give away. Okay, so here you go.
Don't give anything away.
Yeah, so I'm going to share this a true crime story. Again, as I said at the beginning of the show, it's ambitious. It's an ambitious crime, but also very simple. But what really is fascinating is the story that follows. All right, that's all I'm going to tell you. If you have any
Great,
thoughts.
because I love when I don't know anything about what's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
She loves every episode, John. She loves every episode. If you know what I'm saying.
That's why she's such a huge fan.
Yeah, who let a fan on the show? The if you have any
I was
questions,
not a fan, so I belong
yes,
here.
that's right. You play that role well.
I played that role.
You do. Hey, if you got any questions or comments, concerns, or better jokes, stop me and we will pause and we will talk about it, or we'll work it in. We'll work in John's filthy joke. All right, here we go. Let's see.
It's good. It's good.
1981. Although it was fall, it felt like winter in a wet field just 35 miles north of New York City. The unseasonably cold weather presented a particular challenge for the men standing about clad only in Roman togas and sandals.
Oh?
Sinking ever so slowly into the mud, the fledgling actors stood ready to perform in an unprecedented movie. The most expensive gay porno ever filmed.
Wow.
I'm already a fan.
But, much like their footwear, the production had become stuck. The film's director and star were at an impasse. With
I love when he does that.
I really got a typo here.
I love them.
With the mysterious, with their,
Let me say the sentence again.
the film's director and star were at an impasse with the film's mysterious financier. The
I shouldn't have written this word.
mononymous George. The mononymous George.
Mononymous?
I think that
Like
monomonom.
Cher or Prince or those foolish people.
Monomonom.
Do, 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 do.
The mononymous George. And although they knew very little about George, what they did know kept them from arguing too vehemently. George had a limo, 10 pounds of cocaine, and a suitcase full of money.
Oh.
This is
And
the
a
story of Buck Naked Ambition.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm stuck on the word mononymous. Is that a real word?
Yeah, it means one name, having one name, like Madonna, Prince.
Oh, okay.
Bono.
All right. Oh,
Cher.
all right.
Will.
You know, now what John said is clicking in my brain. I was more interested in singing along with the Muppet Show skit than listening to what you were saying.
I feel like Kat often has a Muppet Show skit playing in her head while the show's going on.
I do too, but it's always pigs in space.
Born in 1955 to a recently emigrated Cuban immigrant, George Manuel Bosque longed to please his father. Attending private Catholic school and then a military academy, George excelled in academics and extracurriculars. It was during these school years that George became obsessed with law and order. So, at a time when many of his classmates were taking part in protests and free love, George joined the Miami Police Department's Explorer Scout program.
Oh.
Hey,
I thought he was super interested in this TV series. And I'm like, wait a minute, 81? He's super into Law and Order? That doesn't.
No. The concept. Yeah, the concept.
He just, I get it now.
Oh, okay,
now that he joined the police force, but
I thought you were stopping it because you had been a part of the Explorer Scout program down in Florida. But
that's what I thought was coming as well. Like we were going to hear about this, but
he was going to show us.
I was a scout, not an Explorer Scout.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I was more interested in the TV show and like, what's up with that? But okay.
With the fictional Dirty Harry as his role model, George saw those he considered unpatriotic as, quote, deserters, traitors, and termites. Little did George know, however, that in just a few years, he would become public enemy number one.
Oh, yeah.
I like how it puts Kat in the mood like immediately. She just changes like on a dime. Turn on a dime.
Right. Because I'd almost forgotten that we're on our way to the mud porn. Now we're back in school and we're.
How could you forget?
Well, we're talking about Law and Order and going to becoming.
Yeah, we're traveling back now. Yeah.
We know where we're going, though. One place to arrive.
Although he dreamed of a future in law enforcement, George settled for a job as a police dispatcher in Washington, D.C. While his career plans had stalled, George's personal life changed radically. For years, George had been keeping a secret from his father and perhaps himself. He was gay. Now, far removed from his childhood home in Florida, George became a more honest version of himself.
And that's true today, too, right? That must happen today, too. People get the hell out of Florida, like, finally, I could be myself. Maybe more so now than in 1981.
Oh, yes, even more.
Disrespecting Florida. We deserve it, but you are disrespecting Florida.
By 1975, he met and fell in love with Carl Denton, a habitual runaway who had spent some time in juvenile homes. The two outsiders quickly bonded and moved in together. But George feared that the distance between the U.S. Capitol and Miami was not enough to keep his secret from his father. So, the couple moved across the country to San Francisco.
Wow.
But
Is that not enough? Oh,
Sorry for two butts right there, back to back.
nope, bring on the butts.
there was one thing George could not escape: his health. His health was sexy. Everything about him.
Now, George's partner is binomimus. He's got two names.
Yes.
Binominous.
Binomimus.
No, we killed that one already.
Binominous.
We killed that joke.
Did we do that? Well,
No, we didn't.
bring it back.
No, we didn't.
In Washington, George had not only discovered a new side of himself, but he also learned he was an epileptic. And even more than the accompanying seizures, which were terrifying. George feared that his condition would prevent him from pursuing his dreams in law enforcement. So, the epilepsy joined George's ever-growing stable of secrets. Although they described him as, quote, fun to be around, end quote. George's co-workers at San Francisco's Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals also noted that George was, quote, a self-proclaimed Nazi who had his apartment bedecked with Nazi regalia, end quote.
What?
But other than that, a good guy.
What?
This is incongruous.
I don't know, right?
I mean, you know what Nazis think of homosexuals, right?
Yeah, and he's of Cuban descent too. I mean,
Yes, right. You're not, you may be Sieg Heiling up the wrong flag there, pal. It's not, that doesn't align with your lifestyle, your beliefs.
How do you keep epilepsy a secret?
How do you keep Nazism a secret?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way they described it was when they visited his apartment, it's just covered in flags and other accoutrement and paraphernalia. And one of his coworkers sort of dismissed it as, he's just into that. Doesn't really mean anything.
He's a historian.
But other coworkers
he's collecting these flags.
But other coworkers stopped hanging out with him because of these things.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that would be much more detrimental to your career in law enforcement than having epilepsy.
Yeah. But he was a fun guy to be around.
Yeah, other than that.
And good at keeping secrets.
Aside from that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Yeah, it's just really, you're bearing the lead there. It's
Yeah, I should start off with that.
1981, Nazis. After George's brief stint as an animal control officer ended in a mysterious firing.
Yeah, I wonder why he was fired.
Yeah.
George came closer to achieving his dream of locking up deserters, traitors, and termites. Recruited by the San Francisco Police Commission, George joined a regulated force of private citizens tasked with keeping the peace.
Oh.
Finally, George had what the founding fathers intended for every Nazi-loving epileptic: a gun.
Oh, man. Okay.
George, however, couldn't control his excitement or his weapon. And after drawing down...
Oh, his gun, you mean? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, goodness. Why?
Oh, here we go.
No.
Sorry, baby. I can't control my weapon.
George, however, couldn't control his excitement or his weapon. And after drawing down on an acquaintance's girlfriend, whom he also handcuffed just because he could, he was fired. When George reapplied weeks later, however, presumably wearing a fake mustache or something.
I'm not that guy.
This time he's wearing his SS uniform.
He's a brown shirt, yeah.
You wouldn't look at my face. Look at your craziness, yeah.
No more secrets.
Well.
When George reapplied weeks later, however, he was rehired. It was probably very difficult to find someone so well suited for law enforcement.
Oh, there goes Will. There he goes.
I kid. That police officers are my family. I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
So, as an aside here, Kat, you remember when we did Cocaine Bear?
Oh,
it was a true
remember.
crime.
Yes.
And I spent easily the first 30 minutes going, where's the damn bear?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I know where we're going. We need to get to a toga stag film in north of New York, and we're still eating rice-a-roni out in San Francisco with a Nazi.
What's up with the Nazis? Where's
How are we getting there?
The wheeling the porn mud.
That was a bait and switch.
It got me.
I did that just to get you to pay attention. There's absolutely no porn in this.
Because otherwise John would,
Yeah, that's right.
January 1978. Since George's work as a nighttime special police officer left him free time to pursue additional daytime work, George applied for a job with the Brinks security firm. In addition to their bulletproof trucks, the 100-year-old company was known for its rigorous selection process. So, after 3 rounds of interviews and lie detector, fingerprint, and background checks, George was hired. Undetected were his prior arrests, epilepsy, being rejected by police forces in 3 other states, pulling a gun on a friend, or Nazi paraphernalia. This would not be the last time George would exploit a gap in Brinks's security.
Man, there it is.
There's no way.
I'm just glad you said in their security.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you, John.
Okay. All right. Not saying it. I'm just saying it without saying it.
You just.
In spite of the improved trajectory of his career, George became depressed, increasingly fearful that his health issues would cost him jobs. George argued with Carl regularly. More money would help with his health issues, but there was no one to turn to. There was no way George could get help from his father. After a desperate long-shot bid to run for sheriff of San Francisco failed.
Wait, say that again.
After a desperate long-shot bid to run for sheriff of San Francisco failed.
I wonder why.
I'm curious.
All right.
George became increasingly... Yeah?
They must have visited somebody visited his apartment.
It hasn't been a hindrance so far.
But for that situation, somebody must have visited his apartment.
All right, after he didn't, in fact, he didn't even, not only did he not win the election, he couldn't even get on the ticket.
Oh.
Okay. Well, that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
But why would he think he could? Again, he's known for exploiting gaps, as I hear.
He had big dreams. He wasn't going to be stopped.
After a desperate, long-shot bid to run for sheriff of San Francisco failed, George became increasingly erratic and argumentative. It became too much for Carl. And on August 14th, 1980, Carl packed up his bags and rode a bus out of town.
Okay.
The next day, George would become responsible for one of the most audacious robberies in American history.
The next day?
Yes.
After his partner leaves town. The next day.
He's at a nadir here, Kat. I mean, life-wise, right?
Wow. Yeah.
He was really counting on the sheriff thing. He still isn't a cop, even though he's kind of a wannabe cop in these other kinds of jobs.
Right.
His partner leaves him.
There is something about that sheriff thing not working out that just, oh man.
Seems like the kind of guy that would become a mall cop, right? You often have those like a taste for authority, and yet you can't get in into the regular system, and you're like, well, here's the closest I can get. I washed out of this or whatever. So I can see why he leaned toward Brinks, because that's another kind of pseudo authority. Yeah. Right. Your authority over money, which is in your truck, I guess. But I didn't stop you from pulling a gun, I guess. But
yeah. And that little sort of local, posse thing that he worked for, which was like a quasi arm of the police, Another kind of mall cop sort of thing. Except he had a gun.
Yeah, the vigilante posse.
It was simple, really. The morning of August 15th, George and a fellow Brinks employee arrived at San Francisco's airport to pick up money. To pick up a money shipment of over $7 million. They were to deliver 7 large canvas sacks filled with $50 and $100 bills to the Federal Reserve Bank in downtown San Francisco. After loading the sacks into the truck, George told the driver that an airline official inside wanted to speak with his partner. It was a lie.
The ruse. Yeah.
With the driver gone, George did something never seen in a heist movie ever. He simply drove off.
What's going on, Kat?
What's wrong with Kat over there?
I had a little trouble hearing anything you said after loading the sacks into the truck.
Kat, come on.
All I could think of was the music.
That's lowbrow. That's lowbrow.
Wow.
That's lowbrow.
Okay.
Kat. Cat.
You're better than that, Cat.
Clearly not tonight.
You're better than John. Come on.
Have some self-respect.
Okay. Did I miss anything?
I have no idea.
Did I?
Everything. You missed everything.
So he told his partner that someone at the airport wanted to talk to him, but it was a ruse to get him alone with the money in the truck, I'm sure. And so, so now we take the truck, drive straight to New York, put on togas, story over. No?
George abandoned the Brinks truck in the airport Hilton parking lot. As he climbed from the vehicle, he saw a woman bringing her car to a stop in a nearby spot. George drew his gun on the woman. It was kind of his move at that point.
That's what I do.
Did he handcuff her too?
No. Instead, he held his weapon on the woman as he transferred 2 of the 7 sacks to her car.
Cat.
I don't know why sacks are so funny.
And we're only talking about 2 sacks.
Oh, saxophone. Yeah.
Then he took her keys and drove off. Authorities eventually found the car.
Wait.
Yeah.
He just put 2 of them in the car and left $5 more million in the truck?
Yeah.
Such a good question. What? Yeah.
First of all, unaccompanied money in the parking lot. Your job is to protect it. Plus, if you're stealing, just take it all.
Yeah.
Was it too heavy for you, George? Did you have a little seizure and kept you from stealing more?
Yeah, maybe he was. Maybe it was impractical, right? And maybe he was thinking ahead. Like if I have 7 sacks of money, each one roughly has $1 million in it, as John pointed out. How's he going to carry that around or hide it? Or
you throw it in the car that you just hijacked.
Yes. Then you're living out of the car.
And if it's too heavy, pull the car around to the Brinks truck and load them up. I mean, don't walk out, leave $5 million on the table. Man. Come on, George.
I think you ought to check John's apartment for Nazi paraphernalia.
I'm just saying. No, but I do have a toga and muddy slippers.
Slippers, not sandals. Slippers.
Slippers. Low budget.
Then he took her keys and drove off. Authorities eventually found the car abandoned just a few miles away from the apartment George had shared with Carl.
Oh.
In the vehicle was a note with a $50 bill attached.
$50 for Carl? You just took
No. Wait. Hang on.
Okay.
This is not for Carl. Carl left. Carl moved away.
Carl's on a bus.
Okay. All right. This wasn't for Carl. Okay.
Not
in the car. Okay, Carl's gone. All right.
He seems just like he's sort of drawn to this area, you know?
Okay. Still stingy.
The note read, Dear Lady.
Dear lady.
Lady Poison.
Sorry I had to use your car and that you were so scared. Yours, a man in trouble. And with that,
hey,
George.
Buy yourself something nice.
Well, it was 1980. She could probably bought a whole new car.
Yes.
A Gremlin or something like that. I don't know.
Hey,
and
lady.
with that, George disappeared.
He disappeared.
Yeah.
Sorry about all the emotional trauma and holding you at gunpoint and taking your car and $50.
Nick says he held his weapon against the woman.
They were no wonder.
There it is.
Thanks, Nick, for correcting that. That was good. Good get.
Oversight.
Brinks was appalled and embarrassed. The reputation of the company
That this guy only took 2 of the 7 bags.
That's right. We taught you better than that.
We taught you better. You take all the money. Come on.
Amateur. Rookie.
The reputation of the company had been as bulletproof as its vehicles. Now, they had been victims to one of the largest thefts in U.S. history. And it was perpetrated by their epileptic employee.
Nazi too.
To make an example of George, Brinks offered a $50,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. To ensure his swift capture, Lloyds of London, who had insured the stolen money, added another $100,000. Despite the massive reward and a far-flung international manhunt, a year later, George was nowhere to be seen. It was as if he had ceased to exist. And, in a sense, he had.
It's all coming together, right?
Are we getting closer
now
to
we
the
know,
blood?
we know why Mononymous George was able to back this film. He had some money to bankroll some stuff.
Yeah.
He wants to get away from San Fran, so opposite side of the country, I'm guessing. Yeah. See where we're going?
And I think I think they determined the two sacks he stole were about $1.78 million.
Well, minus 50.
Yes.
Minus the 50.
Oh, Kat, I just remembered.
Yes.
I just remembered.
What'd you remember?
The best part of this story is after the robbery, and we just got there.
Oh. See, okay.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we're getting closer. He's moving closer to his father, though, I got to say, if he went away from San Francisco.
I guess, yes.
I don't know if that's important or
if
not.
If he moves west or east, rather, at all.
In any direction. Well, almost any direction, yeah.
If you had a choice of being far from your homophobic father or far from the authorities that want to put you in prison.
Yeah.
Hey, Dad.
601.
You know?
Hey, Dad, you got an extra bedroom?
Yeah.
I got some posters.
You think you don't like that lifestyle? Have you seen my red and white flag?
Hey, Dad, I got good news and bad news.
Wait a minute.
What do you say? What do you say first? His father's a Cuban immigrant. Oh.
Good news is, nope, it's all bad news.
I don't know which one to lead with.
Although George had vanished, the stolen funds appeared here and there. An envelope filled with $10,000 in $50 bills arrived at the San Francisco Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals.
Oh.
A note
Wow.
to the director who had dismissed George under mysterious circumstances 3 years earlier was included.
That was the mystery.
It directed that, quote, the humble amount, end quote, should be used for the benefit of the animals, and was signed Mr. Anonymous. Additionally,
dressed to Hey Lady.
It's just everybody.
Additionally, $20,000 was received by George's former partner on the Special Police Force for, quote, money I owe you, end quote.
Oh, wow.
All of the money was turned over to the authorities.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, he was getting it out. He was spreading it around.
But he felt good.
He did have a good bone in his body.
Oh, John.
When George disappeared, millionaire, businessman, and philanthropist J.R. Lewis materialized. Donning this new alter ego, George reemerged first in New York, then Chicago. Cash rich, he quickly made friends among the wealthy and powerful. As his circle of friends grew, he asked John if he could add any others.
Yes.
As his circle grew, however, so did his paranoia. So, he never stayed in the same place for very long. And he kept his suitcases, which were now full of the stolen money, in sight at all times. After Chicago.
What's that?
That sounds inconvenient. At all times.
Hey, who are you? What's your name? No. Don't worry about the eye contact. I'm just. Are you there? Hello? Where'd you go?
And he's been living on this money and spending this money. So this was 79, 80. We're pushing 81 by now.
Yep.
None of it was trackable, traceable, identifiable, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was far enough away that it wasn't popping up on somebody's radar. I don't know. surprising they hadn't been caught already. So, okay.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. As far as what we were able to do, 50 years ago, right?
After Chicago, he traveled to Denver, Dallas, Florida,
Avoiding his father, I guess.
and Peru, spending money freely on fancy clothes, 5-star hotels, and limousines.
And helmets with spikes on top.
And right, and pith helmets, as well as handing thousands of dollars out in cash, George was living
50 at a time. Hey, lady.
yes, and everyone had a note.
Hey, dude.
That's right.
Sorry, I scared you.
The salutation was already printed on it. He just had to fill out the rest. 2 genders is all we had in the 80s. George was living the life he believed he had deserved. But life on the road was wearing him down.
Oh.
Worn down.
I mean, you don't want this guy worn down. I mean, we saw, when his partner left him, and this kind of stuff he does, when he's sort of got his back against the wall.
Right. Next thing you know, he'll be financing a porn.
Hey, you're getting ahead of me there, yeah.
Uh-oh.
Returning to
I know,
New
it's called a
York.
porno.
Yes.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I don't even know what those are.
I'll explain it later.
Speaking of which, I'm glad I watch a lot of porn, just as a side note, because on our Facebook page, we so often have people try to spam and scam people, like, hey, send me a message. And they always have a picture as their profile of some porn star. And I recognize them right off the bat. And usually I'm excited at first. I'm like, oh, they follow us? No.
Here's my chance.
Yeah, here's my chance.
Good job, Will.
Got the hall pass. It's a long hall pass. It's like John's Christmas list.
Damn. You check them off as you work your way through?
My wife, she hates me for that, but yes.
Returning to New York, George settled into an apartment in Greenwich Village. He made friends in places both high and low.
Oh.
Between helicopter rides, caviar, and champagne at the Waldorf, and even a $500 a plate fundraiser for Jimmy Carter.
This guy's not laying low. This guy is not laying low. What? I mean, he's using a different name, I guess.
Yeah.
But
he's got that mustache on.
He's
the one he used to interview where he got rehired.
Yeah.
Hey, that worked.
All right. In addition to all those other things,
George became a regular fixture at local gay bars, bathhouses, and adult theaters. It was there that he met movie director Chris Covino, the man who would become the architect of George's greatest legacy.
It just occurred to me, Kat. Do you think his fake mustache is like a little Hitler mustache?
It occurred to me that maybe you guys thought that's what I meant. And I'm like, no, I don't actually.
Because you kind of did this. And you're like, well, yeah, like a little teensy weensy. Like, that's a little on the nose there.
And maybe if he has to really blend in with, a crowd that he knows he might be sensitive to that, he puts on 2 Hitler mustaches on either side. So it looks more like a normal.
More normal.
And one has a soul patch.
He's got a pocket full of caterpillars and a stick of spirit gum. He's just like, how many do I have to put on today? Here's some eyelashes and everything. What do I need? Oh, God, I lost my head. I'm so excited.
I love that name. Pocket full of caterpillars and a stick of spirit gum. Now that's got to be the name of your autobiography.
It's the name of my band, actually.
Yeah, it's a long name.
The band.
I'm going to go with the acronym, whatever that would be.
Like George, Covino was a gay man who feared his family discovering his true identity. A decade earlier, Covino had begun working on adult films to hone his skills as a filmmaker. As a filmmaker,
Kat. As a filmmaker.
What? Why did we need that clarification? Was that Kat?
Yes, it was because Kat, I could erase your breaking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
He longed to transition to more traditional fare. George was immediately struck by the charismatic Covino and suggested they work together. Covino insisted.
Kat's not hearing any of
Again,
this.
it's about the movie. Kat, well, everything
she's just
thinks.
giggling her way through it. I'll tell you later what happened.
Kat,
I'm okay. Okay.
Kat, I'm realizing Kat has the filthiest mind of us all. She must. Because she's thinking so many of these things are innuendo, and I don't even, it's not my first thought.
I mean, I'm filthy, but I have a filter. I told you that I skipped a whole Ghostbuster joke from earlier that I'm not even going to say.
Exactly, right.
And yet, here we are.
I appreciate Kat's filterless, I guess.
I do too. Oh, God love her.
Oh, the acronym for your band, John, is, according to Michael, is PIFKSP. PIFKSP.
Caterpillars, spirit.
PIFKSP.
Stick of whatever that is.
Biff Busk.
All right. This director, Covino, he's making adult films. He longs to use those skills to really work in Hollywood one day.
As people do.
And
right.
I'm sure they do. I mean, they probably do. Some
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
of course.
Absolutely.
Right. Got to start somewhere.
Same with the actors, too, I'm sure. Many of them. Anyway, so then, George approaches him and says, we should work together.
Covino insisted that although he made adult films, they were all straight. George asked if $100,000 could change his mind.
The films were.
Yes, Covino was a gay man. The films were straight.
Yes. Got it. I was confused.
Covino initially laughed it off. A budget of that size was unheard of in gay pornography. Then, George showed him suitcases full of money.
Because they were right in front of him.
That's right.
Will you just put it down for a
I've
second?
been looking at this whole time.
Hey, look, I can't. Just help me open this. He looks down, putting it down. Are you still there? I'm opening it. Do you see it? I didn't hear you gasp or anything. Are you there? I can't.
Yeah.
All right, so suitcases full of money.
And thus, Centaurians of Rome was born.
Oh, getting closer.
So, Will,
Yeah.
as a adult film aficionado that you are,
Okay. Thank you.
those sorts of films don't typically have / require a huge budget.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I have seen I have heard of people who have seen some higher budget pornography
Okay.
that may or may not have been based around Star Trek. Don't know for sure. But even those probably, if I had seen it, didn't look like
Yeah.
had much of a budget, really.
Yeah, right.
A lot of plywood and,
Yeah.
you know,
Now, in the early 80s and the 70s.
for the sets. The sets, Kat. What do you think the plywood was used for?
Oh my God, Kat.
I don't watch. I don't know.
Oh, and now she's never watched.
I've never.
Oh.
No.
Kat, you are so full of shit, your eyes are turning brown. We know that you have certainly partaken.
Yes. She's into the time with
Biggest
plywood
lie of
in
the
it.
show.
No.
I like splinters. Give me the splinters.
Yeah, but John, what I'm thinking of is guesses in the 70s and 80s, and I've seen some of this vintage porn. They made it like movies. They made it like they could seem like legitimate films, but for the fact there's a lot of scenes where people are just doing it.
But there's only one Caligula, really. I mean, that's only really been done once, and there's a reason for that. It didn't get its money back because of the audience limitation. And anyway,
Right. Well, yeah.
I think we're wasting George's money, quite honestly.
Yeah. Okay. But hey, we'll see.
He should have given more to Jimmy Carter and skipped the Centurions.
We'll see. This might be a Godzilla Kong thing, and this guy's making Thundercats in a few years.
It launched a franchise.
You never know.
When George proposed a classy big-budget porn movie, Covino was happy to oblige. Covino concocted a story in which 2 Romans during the reign of Caligula are sold into slavery and must plot to earn their freedom by any means possible.
Oh.
With generous financial backing from George, which grew to over $150,000.
Jeez.
Corvino assembled a cast and crew of veterans of their various trades. Shooting the film. Shooting would take place over 2 weeks in Nyack and New York City, with landmarks like the New York Stock Exchange and Customs House serving as backdrops. I'm guessing because of the Greco-Roman architecture, maybe, of those buildings.
Oh, okay, all right.
Certainly. Yeah.
And not because Wall Street was big back in those days. The NASDAQ.
With so much cash available and so many professionals involved, production should have been smooth. It wasn't.
But there was mud.
It was rough.
You know how I try to work jokes into these things sometimes if they're obvious and not terribly offensive.
I hadn't noticed.
Not this one. Other one.
Okay.
Not this story. It is impossible with this story. I was going to try to work something about production should have been smooth, like smooth as, Name of the Stars chest or other areas. But back in the 70s and 80s, no, things weren't smooth at all.
Right.
It was Caterpillar City.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. No shortage of caterpillars.
There's a whole cluster of caterpillars.
Not just in pockets, yeah. In fact, you're right. He could have just been like, I need a disguise. Give me that spirit gum stick and a fistful of chest hair.
Just stick this on. Where'd you get this hair? Don't worry.
I wonder who it's dropped off since we started talking about all this.
Everyone.
Off of the live. I've seen the numbers plummeting.
Oh, somebody just dropped right now when you said that.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. That's fine.
Went from 7 to
It's
6.
fine. We don't do it for people in the audience anyway. It's just for the three of us.
It's for us. I enjoy it.
Every morning, George arrived in a stretch limo. Every evening, he paid everyone in cash.
Wow.
Between sunrise and sunset, the production seemed poised for collapse. George roamed the set, making unwelcome suggestions and changes to the script. Would you lift your leg a little higher, please?
Script.
Chris Covino wrote a script. Yeah, he said.
Well, yeah, but script.
Yeah.
I think it'd be better if you did this. It doesn't matter. It's all just a way to get to this scene. That's all we're doing.
John, again, maybe you haven't seen a lot of vintage porn. Back then, that's what it was. They thought they were making high art, and then people would have sex. They were scripted. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, you're right. It's just I don't know what they have. Do they have? I guess they probably have stuff with more extended type stuff.
I would like to personally thank you for assuming that I've not seen much vintage porn.
Well, just based on your comments, I don't know.
I'd like to be able to thank him for that too, but you guys don't believe me.
I'm not saying anything about you.
Oh yeah. Okay. When you click and it's 4x3 aspect, here we go. Yeah. That's some of the best stuff.
That's there you go. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
a little grainy.
Yeah, that's right. I watch it for the grain. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Aesthetics.
It's like turned vinyl.
Exactly. Like the grooves in the vinyl.
Every morning, blah, 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 blah. Where was I here? Oh, I'm telling you about how things were kind of a disaster on the set.
He was annoying. Yeah. He was a pest.
Right. He's telling people.
Sometimes George disappeared with one of the performers.
Oh.
Bringing production to a halt.
It's a rehearsal. What?
I was giving him script notes.
That's right. What if we tried it like this? Yeah, let's try it like this.
Nah, I don't buy it. Doesn't seem real.
The one.
Oh,
that's the one.
That's the spot.
At one point, a set collapsed because a crew member leaned on the wrong pole.
Oh, plywood.
It's a plywood pole.
That's not a pole.
Sorry, I thought that was a pole. I didn't mean to lean on it. Just saying what everybody's thinking.
Actors with no training were forced to film scenes on horseback.
Wait, what? There were horses?
You mean no horseback riding training, or?
Yeah, I'm assuming.
Wow.
Okay, gotcha.
Wow.
No training in acting.
Some of the local accents were so thick that one editor jokingly dubbed the movie "The Centurions of Bayonne."
Oh, nice.
But,
Forget about it, Caligula.
but no one minded. The craft services George supplied included food, drink, and a ready supply of drugs.
There's where the budget went.
Brandon says the worth of a porn movie stands alone on the amount of bass guitar in the quote soundtrack. I want to see this bingo card Marcus is talking about. Who had Will announcing how glad he is that he watches so much porn? Their bingo card, yeah.
After 2 weeks of filming, George threw a rap party at the underground nightclub in New York City.
Oh.
The swag? Cocaine and marijuana. In an example of life imitating art, the gathering quickly degenerated into an orgy that would have made Caligula blush.
Who's Caligula? I've heard that 3 times now. What?
Caligula was like, "That's too much. You've gone too far."
Yeah. Kat, put that on your movie watch list.
There you go.
And then you'll find out.
It's a historical account. You can watch it.
It is.
Documentary.
I'm going to phone a friend.
When it came time
Don't
for
ask Michael Kramer. He'll give you the wrong answer.
Oh, no.
Sour grapes, man.
When it came time for post-production, director Chris Covino only had a small amount of George's money left.
Oh.
But calls to his mysterious financier went unanswered.
Oh.
George had disappeared as suddenly as he had in the aftermath of the Brinks heist.
Oh.
Did you say, or do we know at this point, is he George or is he J.R. Lewis, the pseudonym that he had used?
Yeah, I think what happens is he starts off as JR, and as he's getting a little closer with Chris in particular, Chris Covino, he does become George. But
yeah, my nickname is George.
Yeah, I think that's just George to them. Yeah.
Yeah. The J stands for George with a J. See, this is yeah.
Maybe his father's name is Jorge. With J-O-R-G-E.
Actually,
yeah. See there, that could work. That could work.
Cuban.
Jorge,
so
yeah.
yes.
Ooh. I wonder if JR was his father's initials and he was paying respect to his father or disrespecting his father.
Yeah,
by using that.
Could go either way.
I'll show you.
I'll respect you.
I'll give my name to people.
Chris Covino would never see George Bosque again.
Wow.
But he still worked hard to complete their film.
Oh.
A fan of George Lucas, Covino added a Star Wars-style opening sequence.
No.
Which sequence?
Yeah.
Which sequence?
The crawl.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, Darth Vader came in and killed a bunch of Roman soldiers.
And Cerveza Cristal.
In the mud.
Okay.
He also borrowed liberally from John Williams' score and Queen's music for Flash Gordon.
No.
Oh. This is a blender full of shit shake just mixing up here. Man.
Mud.
Centurions of Rome, which incidentally was misspelled.
Uh-oh. That
Rome?
bugs me right there.
Centurions. They spelled Centurions with an A.
Where would you put an A?
Centurions?
No,
Centurions?
Centurions.
Instead of an O.
Centurions. It was centurions.
Yeah, centurions. Yes.
Yeah.
Centurions.
That's correct.
Centurions.
With that whole budget,
I'm a
nobody
centurion.
noticed it was spelled wrong.
No, right.
It was the Bayonne influence.
All right. Well, now that I know how it's spelled, I can look it up. Let me see.
Centurions.
Get that on the Plex.
For research.
Put Caligula on there too, John.
It's already on there.
Okay, there you go, Kat. You know where to go.
Okay. I'm scared.
Centurions of Rome, which incidentally was misspelled, was released to much financial success.
What? Really?
But mixed reviews.
Oh.
George is nowhere around to get anything back on his investment, right?
No,
okay.
right.
All right. So, all right.
And while
This
some
money's going
critics
right in their
praised the quality of the production, comparing it with mainstream films of the day, some criticized the performances, the adult ones, which were clearly impacted by all the drugs George had supplied in abundance.
So there were performance issues.
To be clear, you're not saying they were poor actors. You're saying they were poor
performers.
They were unenthusiastic performers.
Yes. I swear, honey, this is the first time this has ever happened. A lot of Roman soldiers saying that.
Pushing a rope uphill.
The film World Guide may have summed it up best, dubbing it, quote, the strangest gay adult film ever made.
Okay.
At least you're superlative in some field. I mean,
Yeah. Put that on the poster.
Right, put a little starburst on the corner.
Yeah.
Strangest ever. I mean,
Flash. Imagine that in the middle of the movie.
it was Flesh.
Yeah.
Flash.
Oh, there was Flesh Gordon. Remember that?
No, I do not, actually.
That came out around this time, too.
Oh, no.
Do tell. It's the first time hearing of it.
I only saw very little of it. I was a confused child that didn't have the reading skills necessary to watch the correct film.
You spell it with an A?
Yes.
While George had been living his life openly, he still kept many secrets. The one that most plagued him was his epilepsy. His seizures.
Not his Nazism.
No, he was
no,
fine
not
with that. Totally cool with that.
That did not plague him one little bit.
Not at all. Slept like a baby. In fact, that's how he calmed himself during seizures. He thought of Hitler. Allegedly. His seizures were getting worse, both in frequency and intensity. Fearing being alone when struck by a terrible attack, George thought back on the best time in his life, his time with Carl. In truth, despite the debaucherous adventure, George continued to think about Carl during the prior 15 months. He still hoped to reconcile. So, in November of 1981, George returned to the literal scene of the crime, San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
Ill-advised.
All right, we're nearing.
See what kind of trouble love can get you into?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kat says it like she knows. Oh, God. The time that I was on the lam and
You're
financed the
preaching
porn.
to the choir, John. If I had a Hey Lady 50 for every time that happened to me.
Oh, what?
A Hey Lady 50.
Is that something you know, Kat?
lady. No, it's what?
It's a $50 bill attached to a note that says
Oh,
Hey Lady.
Oh, you go. I was immediately thinking, hey, lady. Like the Jerry Lewis thing. Okay, gotcha.
Oh, yes. It's funnier when I have to explain it.
Yes. Well, it was Dear Lady. That's why he threw me off. All right, whatever.
Living out of a cheap hotel in San Francisco, George made daily calls to old friends from a telephone booth at a nearby store. Like the manhunt to find George, however, Carl had left no trace.
Oh.
George was unaware that his old love had moved to Texas.
Oh.
Then,
Okay.
on the evening of November 22nd, 1981, with as little drama as when he walked away with $1.85 million, George was approached by the police. Eager for the reward, one of George's old acquaintances had tipped off the authorities. George offered no resistance when apprehended. When asked why he took the money, he said, quote, I did it because I was losing a lover of 5 years. I was having these epileptic seizures that could have cost me my police department job. And I really wanted this one really big Nazi flag I had seen at the flea market. No. Oh, wait, that last part was wrong. What he really said was, I wanted to go home to Miami for medical treatment. But I couldn't tell my family because of my gay lifestyle. George was relieved. It was over.
I couldn't go home due to my gay lifestyle, so instead, I made a porno.
That's right.
Yeah, and one of the sad things is, I'm trying to remember just off the top of my head here, so the authorities catch up with his father, or news reporters, and they say, well, first of all, the cops, one of the things the FBI starts looking for is they learn about Carl, and they can't find George, at the beginning, so they look for Carl too, because they had learned about that they were together. They finally track Carl down in Dallas, I think it is, and Carl's able to say, "Look, I haven't been with him. I moved here. I have nothing to do with that." But he outed George as a result of that, and so so the next thing reporters did was go to George's father and ask him, do you know anything about this? You know what your son's where he is? Did you know? Is it true your son? Look, this is 1980, right? 81. Is it true your son is gay? I mean, that one, I don't think that'd be a question a reporter would ask now, because who cares? Right.
Yeah.
But his father, this gentleman, I imagine him as sort of an old world, guy, saying, he says, no. Now, with regard to, he also has a hard time believing his son did the robberies. He says that probably someone put him up to it.
Oh.
But he seems more accepting that may be believable versus his son being gay. As a possibility. In fact, he tells the reporters that, no, he's mentioned having plenty of girlfriends. I've heard him talk about them all the time.
More likely to steal almost $2 million than be gay. Yeah. Okay.
Ladies like Bruce and Steve, William, Mitchell, Douglas, Jerry. Jerry could be a lady, I suppose.
This is the last bit here.
George Bosque pled guilty to his crimes.
He got a second name.
And although the judge he could afford it now. And although the judge was inclined to offer him a relatively light sentence, the authorities believed George still had money hidden away.
Oh.
After all, how could one burn through almost $2 million in 15 months?
After all, what could be in those suitcases? In front of
He's still holding it in front of him. That was why they were suspicious.
Make the defendant put that suitcase down. Tell us where the money is. Put that suitcase down. Tell us where the money is.
I ain't talking. That's how he sounds.
So,
Miami.
So they don't believe him. They think he's got money somewhere. And as a result, even though the judge wants to give him a light sentence,
the prosecuting attorney, Robert Mueller, yes, that Robert Mueller, asked for the maximum sentence of 20 years.
Wow.
The judge settled for 15. Additionally, Lloyd's of London sued George for the full amount that he had stolen. And since George persisted that all the money was gone, the only option for the insured would be to attempt to take ownership of the Centurions of Rome.
Oh, damn.
Lloyd declined to pursue this option.
But why?
No,
it did really well.
He made money, no.
And while he couldn't have anticipated precisely how,
I'm just imagining the box cover, Centurions of Rome, property of Lloyd's of London, right underneath it.
Their shareholders would be, I don't know if it's a public company or not, the board of trustees or whatever.
Oh. Yes, okay.
And while he couldn't have anticipated precisely how, George did somewhat satisfy his dream of a life in law and order. It was just on the receiving end of it.
So, look, he gets sentenced to 15 years, but after just about 5 years, he gets paroled in 1986, and he returns to San Francisco.
Oh.
He's never able to reconcile with Carl, though, which is pretty hard.
That was my next question.
Yeah. And by 1991, he dies of a drug overdose.
Oh, wow. In 91.
Before he passed, though, he was asked, he was continued to be asked, where's all the money? He said he spent half of it gambling. Quote, I'm sorry. He says he spent, quote, half of it gambling, drinking, and making a porn film, end quote.
Only half.
But he also admitted that he was, for all the ups and downs of his life, he admitted that during that 15 months, he did find himself happy at times. And he summed up his time on the run by saying, quote, my biggest enjoyment with the money came about when I shared it with other people. I've met some very wonderful people and done some nice things, and I will never regret it or be embarrassed about.
Like the $50, dear lady.
Right.
I was so proud of that 50. I felt it's the right thing to do.
All right. Hey, I don't know.
That's a good story.
That was amazing. That was just what I needed to hear.
That precisely. You didn't know it till you heard it. You couldn't have.
You know what a porno is, though, right? You've never seen one, you claim.
Okay,
You're aware of the concept.
I'm aware of what happens. I know, I understand what porn is or porno. And yes, I can't tell you how or where. It's like clips have appeared maybe in random situations on a show. It's like, well, I don't know. I can't even tell you. It's like, there's maybe like 3 or 4 second clips that are burned in my brain that I'm like, oh no. But I have never, I've never been like, oh, I'm going to do this now.
But I mean, out of curiosity, even.
Yes.
I mean, you're aware of how the internet works now, right? I mean, it's available.
It's funded by porn.
If you would, I mean, even if it's just for scientific curiosity, you're like, well, let's see what this is about. But scientific
you could do it that way.
I don't want to know. I don't want to see it.
So that's what my husband was talking about. See, you'd have a basis, you'd have a frame of reference for all these requests you're getting.
Now I'm tossing jokes out.
I'm ready for this show to be over. Yes. I got my card ready.
Hey, yeah.
Probably good timing.
Speaking of that, that was our show.
And our show is brought to you thanks in part to our early adopters like Rick Parker and Karen Flieger. And thank you especially to our Secret of Our Success level Patreon supporters, Marcus Taylor, Tony Great, Nick Guillory, Craig Coletta, Matt Marino, John Henderson, and Brandon Greer.
Thank you, Brandon.
Yay.
Awesome.
Yes. Thank you so very much, guys. We're very appreciative that you put up with our nonsense, including and support it. Maybe you don't want to be associated with this particular episode. I don't know. Please hang in there. Hang in there. There's plenty of other content. Yes. No. In fact, I trust that our generous patrons that we have right now, they get us. They know they get us. They know how we are. They do. Seriously, I do believe that.
They've got it by now. Yes.
Very grateful for that. Hey, if you'd like to join those folks and help us keep the show going week after week, please go to patreon.com/1980s now. And if you can't do that, hey, go to Facebook, follow us there, YouTube there, TikTok there, every place there, your mama's house, whatever. We're all those places. All right. Hey, yes. All right. We won't be at your mother's house. All right. Hey, we will talk to you. I got trying to get us out of here before any more things happen. Hey, we will talk to you next time on 1980s Now.
Maybe next time.
Cat's quitting the show.
Pocket full of caterpillars.